this was the game that I was saying would happen. Patrick Mahomes did everything in the world, throwing the ball like a shortstop. I mean, on a
to
dive,
the face mask.
and it just bounced off these players' face mask.
You
In the
see Kelsey had a huge
sideways,
drop.
yeah. I mean, it was they were falling down.
Yeah.
I mean, it was to the point of where the team, I mean, the Tampa Bay receivers are like sitting there like, Pat is doing crazy things, you know, and he did some really crazy things throughout that game. But there was the letdown game where I said this is not the Chiefs team that I saw last year, to where it was like there's nothing that God could put on the field right now on this earth that could stop these
Isn't
guys.
it the first time ever Patrick Mahomes as a starter has not scored a touchdown, including high school and college?
He's never been blown out.
Yeah.
I've never seen this.
First
Chiefs.
double-digit loss.
I'm not going to go into excuse mode. But I will just say there's some thing. Yeah, but I will. That's the common thing. No touchdowns.
Yeah.
By Mahomes, never had happened. They didn't adjust.
No.
It was very obvious in the first drive to me, in my eyes, that wow, this offensive line is going to have a massive trouble. But luckily, I have Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, and we're going to adjust. We're going to run the football because they have Michael Bunting Jr., however his name is, playing a fucking linebacker position. No run
Bunting
game.
Murphy.
Yeah, you got what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hey, and I had criticized Bowles.
Yeah.
And I'm going to eat that because he had a brilliant game plan. He
did.
and he moved Bunting on Tyreek a little bit, obviously, and then he took Levante David and he put him on Kelsey, where the last matchup was Bunting on Kelsey.
Yep.
And then over the top was Davis III, and he got barbecued chicken.
Is this not the best picture of the Super Bowl? Was him holding the deuces in his face?
Of course.
Here's another little thing that I thought about with.
I want to tie it one last thing, and then you can go. This is it. Why do we always forget, boys, that defensive lines almost win championships more than quarterbacks at times? It showed it again. What a D line can do. But you did.
I didn't. I've been saying it. Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, JPP. I've been saying it. This defensive line was going to be an issue.
JPP was
on the first offensive series.
Hall of Famer now from that.
Here's what I saw.
He's got 2 rings.
That I went, okay, this is exactly
that's a great
going to play out as I predicted. Was they handed off a little cheeky draw that they normally do that's good for 7-8 yards, and as soon as that little guy who makes people miss got to the hole, he found an absolute missile already at hip level, and it blew through him. And you saw him get up, and he kind of looked back at Pat Mahomes, and the defense was just, and I said, you're not going to have anything going inside. The offensive linemen can't get to the next level. Nope. These linebackers are absolute missiles, sideline to sideline, and know how to bring these guys down.
Devin Smith, we've been touting him the whole time.
Yep.
His numbers are the highest at the combine from any linebacker. He's Junior Seau. He's Ray Lewis. He's all of those things. This guy is a fucking star right now, and there's a reason why he was picked where he was.
Yep.
And their safeties both played. They got over whatever injuries they had.
It's a Super Bowl. You play.
They're playing,
But the biggest disappointment part to me isn't even that side of the ball in a weird way. That Chiefs defense with all those penalties, and I don't know what was going on. I don't know where Frank Clark was. I don't know where Chris Jones was. That was more of a shocking game.
Brady had all day to throw.
Yeah.
Like he's sitting back there. He read a book. He ate a sandwich. Look a little bit more. Oh, there's someone. And then he'd hit him. Like it was.
So do you guys remember the first touchdown, what happened? There was a lot of jawing happening between a player and another player.
Mm-hmm. This was the second touchdown.
Was it the second? Okay, I apologize.
For the
First one on the play that was like...
Actually, this was the third one. This was the one that went to Brown at the
Is
end
this the one that had the penalty on the field goal, and then all of a sudden
Matthew gets flagged for talking?
So
is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, so Matthew starts talking,
right?
And in that point in time, still kind of a close game, but that point in time, Matthew was talking shit right before that series, and at the end of that series, Tom Brady came right out to him and said, I'm coming at you. And then on that drive, they work it all the way down. And he threw a fucking 5-yard hookup to Antonio Brown.
It was a great route.
That Antonio Brown hadn't been. Holy shit, that was.
He put him on skates. Yeah, he put him on skates. Made him look dumb. Easy touchdown. And then Tom Brady stood there with his butthole chin and just stared him down.
Well, at one point, he actually stopped and went back the other direction to Matteo and said,
I'm coming at you. That's when he said, I'm coming at you. I'm coming at you on this.
You don't poke the goat.
No, bro.
Not to get off exciting shit talk with Brady involved.
Love it. I love Brady too.
Real quick.
Okay, at the end of the half too with Reed.
Staying on shit talk with
Real
Brady
quick
real
though,
quick.
I hate the way that Tyron handled that with what he said, his tweet or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll say something that Brady said to me, I won't repeat.
Yeah.
It insinuated something that
He didn't
wasn't
say
true.
anything. It's
Yeah.
the Miles
Well,
Garrett effect. The
And I
Mason
think it was
Rudolph thing.
Irvin came out. Michael
Yeah.
Irvin came out because he has access to all that field audio.
He can actually hear the audio.
He came out and said, no, it was nothing racist. And I hate the way that Tyron came out and said that because it alluded that it was, and
Yeah.
it was not. So that bothered the fuck out of me, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It should, because this is the type of
Bothers the
culture
fuck out
that
of
we
me
live
hearing
in.
that
Is
now.
that you have to scream foul in some way, shape, or form. Back to the game. real
I don't
quick.
want to get, I don't
Yeah,
want to get
go
on a
ahead.
tangent. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to. No, you're good. This is where you get all this raw, feelings and emotions and real truth off the field. The real stuff that happens that we talk about. We joke about the Gurley McVay relationship, but there's some goddamn truth to something there.
Yep.
Anyway, going back to the actual Super Bowl. For 3 reasons the Chiefs lost this game. Number one, their 2 starting tackles were out.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Immediately, Patrick Mahomes was on his back foot the entire time.
With
he
turf toe.
He has great mobility. He did accrue over on the 18.5 yards right away in the first quarter. We all felt great about
That was
that.
a
The first drive, he
landslide.
came out looking like he was going to extend plays.
Yes.
As the game progressed, number 2, I realized that Patrick Mahomes wasn't himself even without his 2 left tackles out. He made a ton of miraculous plays, which I still don't know how he made, given the circumstance that when I looked at his mobility and his overall planting on his 5th drop back step, on a lot of his dropbacks, he didn't plant hard, and he wasn't looking downfield. Point 3, Bieniemy, Reed, whoever you want to name, they called a poor game plan in terms of how the Tampa Bay linebackers were playing the game. Q already mentioned, and how they repositioned everybody. They were sitting and they were stopping and they were looking like the Arizona State offense, to where they leak a halfback or they leak somebody out and they just stand there as an attention grabber. They had Tyreek Hill sitting out as a decoy on the side on maybe 4 or 5 plays early in the first half. I'm sorry, but that man needs to be 10, 15 yards downfield, the slant routes to where it's hard to get a read on where he's going right off the line. If you're just standing there and decoying him, you're allowing the pressure to get there. Mahomes can't find his angles and get outside the pocket like he wants to. The Bucs D was able to run roughshod just based on the simple game plan that was ran by Bieniemy. They didn't attack downfield till late. Kelsey accrued a lot of catches in the middle of the field. Watkins, Hardeman, Hill, none of them had an opportunity to get downhill at all. The longest completion for the Chiefs was 31 yards. Go.
Bulls, I'm just going to piggyback on that. Bulls said at the end of the game, somebody had asked him, did you have an adjustment if Kansas City came with this? And he said, we didn't have to.
Right.
That was they never did anything.
Yeah.
Now,
which is
I'm just going to come out and say with the Reed thing, with hearing about his kid,
you don't think that plays a role?
I think it did. But
Well, there were some
obviously,
distractions
his
leading
they
son-
didn't
facing-
look like the Chiefs. 90 yards of penalties in 1 fucking quarter?
His son's,
Is that real?
His son's facing vehicular manslaughter
Right.
charges. Like,
I
I mean,
mean,
of course it's going to weigh on you.
No excuses for him. They just haven't looked like that in almost 3
You know,
years.
this game
So it
reminded
was
me
weird.
of this game reminded me of when the Bucks won their first Super Bowl when they played the Raiders, when the Raiders had the Barrett Robbins distraction and they come to town, and the Raiders didn't look like themselves. They had the MVP of the league in Rich Gannon in that offense, and they ended up losing by 25. Granted, that was a great Bucks defense as well. This team that the Bucks had wasn't world renowned for their defense. Granted, Jared has been touting Ndamukong Suh's name since Nebraska.
They were a
but
7-9
that's-
football team last year, and their defense wasn't very
Lincoln
good.
High.
Right, Lincoln,
Those
excuse me,
guys
thank
need
you,
gel.
thank you for correcting
But
it. I appreciate that.
The defense was still the strength of the team. last
Right,
year.
but it was like probably
you know,
middle of the
Garfield,
road. They
Seattle
made
based.
so
Did
many
they have one of those?
They were,
awards?
I'd say top 10
They were
team.
kind of
yeah,
into these guys.
upswings though.
But you guys get what I'm saying. I mean, we're all on kind of the same page on the 3 reasons that I got why the Chiefs kind of gaffed it. I don't think it's so much of what Tampa Bay did, but let's be honest here. You mentioned the defense, right? Where were they? Here's where they weren't. They were on the field too much. Mahomes is normally scoring points and putting them in a good position to where they can call the game differently, or they have longer possessions to where the sideline is in effect, where they're standing there enjoying the view of what Patrick Mahomes
Well, we
and the
made a
offense is normally
point
doing.
why we were watching it about, holy shit, this is this guy's second punt this postseason.
The entire postseason.
Like,
That-
so
I didn't know that stat. You
Butker-
brought
I
that
know
up.
their
Jared
MVP?
might have called it, but really, the Chiefs haven't got blown out. We
Remember
haven't
the
seen
goal
that.
line
I've
stand
never
that the
seen
Chiefs
Mahomes get
defense
blown
made
out.
too? They had momentum opportunities. The broadcast was setting it up. Jim Nance and Romo were like, there's never been a 99-yard touchdown
Of
drive in
course,
the history.
'cause we expected it.
Right. And this was not expected by
No,
anybody who was
nobody.
in
No.
football
Brady winning
touch.
a close game, yes. Brady blowing him out, I didn't see
There was
that.
Unless you're that dude who owns a furniture store
a lot
in
of
fucking Houston.
Mattress
underlying
Mac,
issues.
baby.
Mattress Mac fucking made out
Called
like a
it.
bandit.
Mattress fucking Mac.
Something
was the
had to be
pull.
up with what the Chiefs were putting together that week leading up to it, because compared to last year's Super Bowl and this year's, even against Frisco, I never felt like they were out of it, as
Who-
demonstrated by the end result.
Who was the more physical team? It was obvious.
The
right?
Bucks
Tampa,
were,
of course.
They
The
reminded me of
physicality
the
always
13
wins.
Seahawks.
They looked that
came
good.
out and set the tone and killed them. They didn't allow anything. When did the 2013 Broncos take the field in
Right?
the Super Bowl?
That's what it looked
Surprised
like.
the first snap didn't go over Mahomes' head.
And it looked like an 80s Super Bowl where they were all blowouts. We kind of got spoiled there. We had this
Yeah.
good run of good Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Boys, this is what this used to look like because that game is so
year in
fucking
and year out.
weird.
Yeah, year in and year
It's
out.
unlike any other game. I hate saying that, but it really is. You can have all these ideas of what's going to happen, and then that
This
game
was
shows
touted
up.
as the greatest matchup probably ever.